Shabbat Shalom to all of you joining us and to everybody in our congregation this evening for our annual commemorative service, commemorating, honouring and remembering especially those who served in our armed forces in the world wars and since then as well. We have some people who have served here with us in the sanctuary this evening. And please, if you were serving as well at various different times, please do let us know where, when, and tell us a little bit about your story. But for now, we move to light our candles in the sanctuary, and we hope that you will do so at home too.
The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. In the past week, some have known sorrow or disappointment, and for some, the future looks far from bright. Let this Sabbath be an oasis of quietness. To the lonely, may it bring companionship. To the sorrowing, comfort. To the dispirited, courage. To all of us, peace of mind and hope for the future.
Would you please rise? And we say together, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Please be seated. And we're delighted that AJEX have sent us a special message this year. It's been wonderful to join with them, and we know that we will be joining with the organisation of AJEX on Sunday as well. I'll mention again later on, but please, if you would like to join those people on parade, then you can do so at 2 p.m. at the Cenotaph. But for now, we are delighted to hear from the National Deputy Chair of AJEX, Dan Fox.
I'm Dan Fox. I'm a Staff Sergeant, a Senior NCO in the British Army Reserve, and the current National Chair of AJEX, the Jewish Military Association. Remembrance always feels to me like another set of high holy days, coming as it does at this time of year, and with its own specific set of events and rituals. In Judaism, we're taught that there is one act of kindness that supersedes all others, that of looking after the dead, because it cannot be reciprocated. It is the chesed shel emet, the one true kindness. In the military, we're taught to apply the principle, the discipline of selfless commitment. It's one of the central values and standards that we are trained and educated for. In times of war, selfless commitment means putting your unit, your comrades, the mission, the country ahead of yourself. What does it mean in times of peace? Well, given Judaism's point about non-reciprocation and care of the dead, remembrance is surely a good candidate for fulfilling both selfless commitment and the chesed shel emet. And the more I've been involved in remembrance activities, whether secular, whether civic and Christian, in official events, or whether through AJEX and at shuls such as yours and my own and many others across the country, the more I've been involved in such activities, the more I've come to understand that my military service has strengthened my connection to my Judaism, and that indeed my Judaism has made my military service even more meaningful. The apex of this overlap is, of course, the annual AJEX parade, taking place tomorrow, as it has done every Sunday after Remembrance Sunday for the past 87 years, after George VI himself granted permission for AJEX to do that march to the Cenotaph in recognition of the Jewish contribution to the Great War. It remains a unique permission for any such group. And it is not just one of the most significant remembrance events for our community, but indeed one of the largest and most significant and most widely recognised and attended remembrance events in the whole country. This year it perhaps takes on added poignance following the withdrawal from Afghanistan and the fall of Kabul. We'll all have people, friends, relatives, comrades, colleagues, people who have served, people like you who may have served yourself indeed, to think about today, to think about last weekend and think about tomorrow at the parade. But given what happened in August, I'll be particularly thinking about Paul Mervis, a young Jewish officer who was killed serving in the Rifles Regiment in June 2009, attempting to re-establish control over a school for young girls that have recently been recaptured from the Taliban in Sangin district, Helmand province in Afghanistan. Just after the fall of Kabul, a man called Tom Tugendhat, who is a descendant of Czech Jewish refugees, was an officer in my own battalion and served with great distinction and bravery in Afghanistan, gave a speech in the House of Commons, where he had since 2015 been a Member of Parliament. Tom made the following points: that it is not armies that win wars. Armies can get tactical victories and operational victories that can hold the line. They can just about make room for peace. It is nations that make war, nations that mobilize and muster, nations that determine. So let's stop talking about forever wars. Let us recognize that forever peace is bought not cheaply, but hard through determination and the will to endure. It's not armies that win wars, it is armies that can hold the line. That can hold the line so that others, governments, civil society, and any individuals can do the work that's necessary to improve people's lives, to make a place, a country, the world a better place. For 400 years, Jews have served crown and country and helped to hold the line. And behind that line, lives have blossomed and peace has flourished. We've held the line. We've always held the line, and we will continue to hold the line. As soldiers, as sailors, as airmen and women, and as Jews. Today, we remember all those who in so doing have paid the ultimate price. Lest we forget, and may their memory be a blessing. Thank you.
Now turn to the foot of page 88. There are days when we seek material things and measure failure by what we do not own. On Sabbath we wish not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature with reckless greed.
On Sabbath we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we think only of ourselves. On the Sabbath we open our heart to the needs and rights of others.
טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון ולזמר לשמך העליון מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון ולזמר לשמך העליון.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm, grow tall like the cedar of Lebanon. Planted in the house of the Eternal One, they will flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bear fruits in old age. They shall ever be fresh and green, proclaiming that God is just, my rock in whom there is no flaw. The Eternal One reigns in grandeur robed. The world stands firm. Your throne is established from of old. The oceans roar, eternal God, the thundering oceans roar. Yet greater than the roaring waves, mightier than the breaking seas. Sure are the proofs of your power, O God.
And holiness adorns your house forever.
Shabbat Mekabela.
Would you please rise?
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vahed.
Praise be the one to whom our praise is due.
We praise the Eternal One, to whom our praise is due forever. Please be seated. And we continue together. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall.
Leolam, Leolam. Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly, we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
Fada Adonai Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace. Let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, the gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'alkol, yoshvei tevel.
Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rek, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanurah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot ve'Imachot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באחווה, מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת Sarah. We continue. Unending is your might, eternal one. You are the source of eternal life. Great is your power to redeem. You cause the wind to blow and the rain to fall, the sun to shine and the dew to descend. In your love, you sustain the living. In your compassion, you grant us eternal life. You support the feeling and heal the sick. You free the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of all strength? Who is your equal, sovereign author of life and death, whose will it is that goodness shall prevail? Trusting in you, we see life beyond death. We praise you, O God, source of eternal life. Kadosh atah v'norah shemecha, ve'en lanu Eloah baladecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha'Shabbat la'asot et ha'Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני
Shabbat vayinabash. Shabbat, Shabbat vayinabash. And together, our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts that we may serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Say Adonai Eloheinu ba'amacha Yisrael, utfila tam behava tikabel, uthila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai,
she'otecha levadecha, b'yirah na'avod. We continue. Modim anachnu lach, shatahu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, le'olam va'ed. Tzor chayenu magen yishenu, atahu l'dor v'ador. Nodeh lecha u'nesaper tehilatecha, al chayenu hamasarim biadecha, va'al nishmotenu habakodot lach, va'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, va'al niflotecha v'tovotecha, shebechol eit erev v'voker b'tzochorayim. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lacha na'eh l'chodot.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon l'chol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon l'chol hashalom. Shalom
Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai, Osei HaShalom. And now as we pause to remember, commemorate and honour, I ask Brian to introduce the book of remembrance that we have here in our synagogue, and also then to recite the Kohima prayer.
The book, the innocent-looking book, contains thousands of names of Jewish servicemen who died in the two wars and in between. You'll find them all in there if you know the names of peoples in your family, and there must, with such a lot of names in here, if so many people must be touched by what's here. Heaven knows what would have happened to us without them, is all I can say. I always think of 3 people in our family who took part in the war, died in the war. There was a cousin who was on the beaches in France, got dragged back there by a comrade to get on a boat, luckily. A navigator in a Spitfire shot down over Holland, and died. That was Lionel Abrahams, and so many more stories that can be told like that. And so the exhortation that I'm going to recite has a meaning. And, you know, it's all there. It's for these people that we're talking.
Perhaps as we do that, maybe we would rise in the sanctuary. Maybe you would wish to do so at home as well.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
What they said was, when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.
Let us pause for a few moments.
It is my privilege to again say a blessing on those people on the Bimar and those who can't be with us. A privilege because I've never fought in the army, although my older brother has. My father was in the Second World War, and Sharon's grandfather was in the First World War and mentioned in this book, and my grandfather was killed in the First World War. And yet I see the people here and know that over the years the numbers have grown smaller. And yet it strikes me how fitting it is, therefore, that our music tonight should be played by the younger generation to keep alive the memory of that so many gave, of the lives they gave over the years. And I thought that as a blessing, I would read the version of the priestly benediction found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It seems so appropriate. And I say it for you standing here. I say it for all those who are following this service online. Yivarechecha b'kol tov, v'yishmorcha mikol ra, v'ya'ir libecha b'sefer chayim, v'yachonecha b'da'at olamim, v'yisa panei chasadav lecha lishlom olamim. May God bless you with all good and keep you from all harm, May God teach your heart the meaning of life and grant you knowledge of the infinite. May God reach out to you with tenderness, that you and we all may have enduring peace. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated, and I'm delighted this evening that a chance conversation led to our member Harry Davis being here this evening to talk about an experience that he had whilst on a mission with Ajax. I'll leave you to tell the rest, Harry.
Right, thank you. It is 85 years since the confrontation between Sir Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists and the Jewish community in what became known as the Battle of Cable Street. I would like to share with you a personal confrontation I had with Mosley when he addressed a meeting of his supporters in a hall in Liverpool in 1961. At the time, I was a young and newly married political activist and very much involved in the anti-fascist movement in Liverpool. I worked with AJEX and the Liverpool Jewish Representative Council in monitoring and reporting back to AJEX any information we had on fascist activity in Liverpool. We knew that Mosley had intended to visit Liverpool and address a meeting, which, to his credit, was somewhat courageous of him, considering that the last time he addressed a public meeting in Liverpool in 1937, he had no sooner climbed on a platform to speak than he was struck on the head by two well-aimed stones, and he ended up in Liverpool's Walton Hospital for 7 days. His appearance in Liverpool in 1961 was his first appearance in Liverpool since that incident. I was asked by Ajax to attend a meeting together with a friend. Mosley's meeting together with a friend. We were to note what Mosley said and report back to Ajax, and we were given strict instructions not to create a disturbance. The hall was packed with several hundred fascist supporters, and Mosley was enthusiastically greeted on his entrance. I quietly listened to Mosley's rather banal speech, but there came a point when I could resist no further in challenging him on what I was confident was an incorrect statement on South Africa. Now, I can't recall the exact point, but I heckled Mosley and he stopped speaking. He fixed me with a very cross stare and asked me to stand up. He assumed that I was an ex-university student. He said, "You dare challenge me? What have you got, a poor third? so typical of the standard of our universities these days. However, I held my ground and remained standing. And my exchange with Mosley continued to the point when I accused Mosley of supporting policies that had resulted in the Holocaust, and that Eichmann, who was on trial in Jerusalem at the time, was a partner in crime of his. At that point, Mosley lost his temper and screamed that he had nothing to do with the murder of Jews. He claimed that he had never attacked Jews for being Jews as such, but only those Jews whom he considered to be working against the interests of the British people, which of course was a lie, as the Battle of Cable Street in 1936 had demonstrated. Whilst on my feet, and by the way, having the confrontation photographed by Mosley's photographer, no doubt my photograph remains in some fascist archives, I said to Mosley, if you claim that you would never have supported the murder of Jews, will you ask this meeting to stand in commemoration of the victims of Eichmann, who was on trial in Jerusalem at the time? To which Mosley surprisingly said, certainly, will the meeting please stand? Which they did. After a few moments, when everybody had sat down, Mosley said to me, satisfied now? Now will you please shut up and let me continue to outline my policies for the future of this country? I did remain quiet, and the rest of the meeting continued without much further interruption. After I left the meeting, I was approached by two members of AJEX, whom I had not realized were at the meeting, and one said to me, I thought we told you not to make a disturbance. But you did, and you were wrong to ignore our instructions. However, I never thought I would see Mosley standing in commemoration of Jews murdered by fascists. So all I can say to you, unofficially, is well done, young man. To my knowledge, Mosley never returned to Liverpool, and the movement never achieved a foothold in the city. I do not believe that Mosley had ever before or since that time expressed in public sympathy for the victims of the Holocaust.
Speaking with us this evening, it's quite remarkable what chance conversations will unearth and bring to the attention of our congregation. Thank you also, we have to say, to all those in AJEX today who continue the work to challenge anti-Semitism in this country. We know that things are not easy, and, well, we have people who are graduated and will be going to maybe university soon here as well. We know that the struggle goes on to combat anti-Semitism, especially on certain campuses. And also, at the same time, so many of us live good lives in this country. And that is most thanks to all of the efforts of the people that came before us. May it continue to be so, that we do live in peace on the whole in this country, and we hope around the world. Let us now move to our concluding prayers, in which, of course, we also remember those of our own relatives who have died in years gone by. Would you please rise? Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol, l'tzeit gurul al yotzei bereshit, shetznechu v'mekenu lehedet shemo, v'gohor aleinu lahamlich malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shemayim V'Yosed Haaretz, U'moshav Yekaro B'Shamayim Mima'al, U'shkinatu zo, V'govhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Heinot, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato,
ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחתינו עוד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. On page 522. The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs. Even when they are gone, the departed are with us. They inspire us to live as in their higher moments they themselves sought to live. And so we remember them now. Baron Barnet Harris, the grandfather of Sharon Goldstein and Phil Stone. Charles Coster, the husband of Shirley. David Jesnick, the father of Joe Rose. Eddie Wolfe, the father of Carol Cummins and Jeff, and grandfather of Neil Marcus and Katie Lehman. Israel Berg, the father of Judy Rose. Karim, the brother of Sam. Marion Joy Cohen, the sister of Shirley Ariel. Martin Rudner, the partner of Angela Gendron, father of Eliza and brother of Bonnie Spira. Murray Dankner, the uncle of Ellie. Nick Marcuse, the husband of Elizabeth and father of Anne Blustin and Paul. Stephen Hyams, the husband of Marion, father of Nicole and Rachel, and brother of Maureen Davis. And Victor Kano, the father of Sue Katz. We're saddened to announce the death of Sarah Black, the mother of our member Caroline Sampson and Gillian Black. We will always remember them. They will remain in our hearts. May they be a continual blessing, as we say together over the page. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei dekudishu b'richu, le'ela minko birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol b'nei Adam, v'imru amen. May the Most High Source of perfect peace grant peace to us, to all Israel, to all humanity, and to all those who mourn. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. In a few moments when we've concluded our service, we ask you to, if you wish, join us in our Zoom room after saying the prayers here for Kiddush. Please do feel free to start joining us now. For those in the sanctuary, thank you so much for being here, and what a wonderful thing it is to be together in a congregation, to be celebrating life with young people around us as well. Also, thanks to Balat Tefillah Abbey for catching me at one moment in time as well, when I lost my place.
Please do, as I said, feel free to go to the cenotaph at 2 p.m. This Sunday to be there to be part of the parade. And also, if you would like to be involved in other Mitzvah Day activities, for it is that designated day, please feel free to join Dad and me and many others on Crotchley Common Moor, scrub bashing and litter picking, if you would like to do our little bit for the local environment. And also tomorrow, if you're able to bring in some Judaica, also some laptops which do work properly together with leads and those kinds of things, please do come in and bring them as you come for services as well. We're delighted to be joined, I can see, by Paul this evening, who I know was serving up until very recently in the RAF, and maybe some others will as well. We hope that you'll be chatting together and speaking of the stories and also of those that you remember. But for now, let us conclude with our hope for peace. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Salam, shalom Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much to our wonderful musicians this evening, to Lydia, to Archie, to Sam. Thank you to Abby for helping lead our prayers this evening, and to Richard and Aaron as well for making sure that hopefully everything went okay for everybody at home. For those in the sanctuary, we'll make say the blessings together. I realise that without Rabbi Leah, there's a few things that I do drop. I've got my cup of wine, but I need to take my own challah out of its plastic. Gosh, the things that a rabbi has to do these days. There we go. We'll leave that for you to take outside as well, and to share and hopefully be able to talk together outside. We do ask you please to leave the sanctuary so that you can then take your mask off and to be able to talk amongst yourselves, to enjoy your challah as well. And also it means then we can connect with the people who are joining us for Kiddush from their own small sanctuaries as well. But for now, either standing or sitting, it really doesn't matter, as you wish. Let us say the blessings together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu
בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון חינכילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא הקודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Shabbat Shalom, and we hope to see you tomorrow for those on our live stream. With our Zoom Kiddush, you should be able to chat amongst yourselves now, and hopefully I'll join you. And just to say, Nelly, it's so wonderful to see you back in shul. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.